6 to 7 Figure Show, Episode 1. Let's hit it.
Broadcasting from the Valley of the Sun outside Phoenix, Arizona, this is the 6 to 7 Figure Show. Tired of working so hard and having no time? Take your six-figure practice and turn it to a thriving seven-figure enterprise. And now, your host, author, speaker, mentor, and strategist, Frank Bria.
This is the 6 to 7 Figure Show. I'm your host, Frank Bria. Thanks for joining us today. I am really excited for you to be here as we're going to be talking about your audience segments this week. And we're going to talk, first of all, I'm going to teach you how to put your audience segment information together. And then later on this week, we're going to listen to a hot seat where someone is coached through that very topic for their business, so you get a sense of what you need to do in your business. But before we get there, you're going to learn a ton today on this episode all about your audience and the things you need to do. If you want to ask questions, if you want to get feedback on what you're doing, the place to be is 7 Figures Plus. It is our free Facebook group. If you go to 6to7figureshow.com, it is right there on the front page. Join our Facebook group, 7 Figures Plus, or you can just go on Facebook and search for it. It is absolutely free. Ask to join, and you'll be put right in. But that's where the really good stuff is going to happen. That's where the awesomeness is happening. So if you want to engage further on this topic and learn more about it and ask questions and get feedback and see how other people are engaging on this topic, then the place to be is 7 Figures Plus. So we're going to get started talking about your audience segments. And in order to do that, we're going to talk, first of all, about making sure you understand the one big problem you solve for your market. Then we're going to talk about the one big result you provide. And then we're going to focus on need segments. And those are going to be the 3 segments today. So let's get started. All right, in this first segment, I want to talk about the one big problem you solve. Now, the reason I call it one big problem is because it needs to be big, clearly. Otherwise, why would you be in business? Why would anyone pay you to solve the problem? But it also has to be one. Now, the biggest pushback I get from people is when they say, listen, I actually solve a lot of problems for my customers. That may be true, but in order to really hone and focus your marketing, you need to be solving one problem. And you need to be clear about the one problem you solve. When you get huge, when you get to 7 figures, you can solve lots of different problems and have different departments that are focused on different problems. But until you're a 7-figure company, you need to be solving one problem. So what is the one problem that you solve? I want you to think very clearly about what that is and to state it in a way, in terminology that your audience is going to understand and that they're going to engage with, okay? Now, a lot of times people find that the one big problem they solve isn't super clear or it's not compelling enough. And usually I find that when that's the case, it's because they haven't really dug down to the real problem that they're solving, okay? And so there's a couple of ways that you can go about do this. There's 2 techniques I like. First of all, I like a Google search technique, and second of all, I like the 5 whys, and we're going to talk about both those techniques right now. So first of all, if you're ever concerned about whether or not the problem you're solving is big enough, just do a Google search on it. Type into Google what people would be trying to find if they were trying to find your solution. Now, this is a really tough exercise for some people because they may say, well, my clients aren't going to be looking for me on Google. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Your clients are probably on the internet and they probably use Google. So they may not look for a service provider this way, but they're definitely going to be looking for information this way. And so you want to type in what that thing is. So let's say that you drive more traffic to websites. So you're going to type in drive more traffic to websites, okay, into Google. And you're going to look at the first couple of pages, first page or 2 of results. And here's what I want you to look for. First of all, I want to make sure that there's actually stuff out there. You should see a mix of content and providers. that solve that problem, okay? If you see content but no providers, then you should be asking yourself whether or not you've stated this in a way that can be monetized, okay? Because somebody should have guessed those keywords and tried to advertise around those keywords. If you see no content and no providers, then that's a serious problem. That means this may not be a market at all. There may not be anyone here. If you see providers but no content, that's a good thing. That means that people are definitely making a market out of it. They're trying to make money off of it, but they haven't used any content in order to build their audience, which is a good opportunity for you. But I want to bust one myth easily here. A lot of people say, well, if there's nobody there, that means it's a great opportunity. That means that it's wide open for me to take advantage of. That is not generally true. Okay, if there is nobody there, that means nobody is making money on this opportunity. It is really tough for you to break into that. Okay, if you had venture capital, maybe, but even then, if I were a venture capitalist, I would say you have no competitors. That's ridiculous. That means there's no market. Okay, so don't fall into this trap of seeing no competitors and thinking, oh, that means it's a great place for me. Okay. Now, one of the things you can do with this Google search that's a little more advanced is to use the information to help you hone in on exactly where the unique opportunity is. Okay, so for example, you'll be seeing content posts, probably content from these providers that are telling you where they think the problem is. And they may say, for example, you may see blog posts that are about getting traffic to your website without using Facebook or without spending money or without this, that, and the other thing. Okay, so you can see where the problem is. It's a unique problem of getting traffic to your website, but not spending money or having a low budget or whatever. Okay, so that's a problem you can solve. So use Google wisely, because that really does help you hone in on what people are searching for, what people are thinking about. It's a good research tool. Now, I want to pivot over to the second thing I wanted to talk about, which are the 5 whys. The 5 whys are a really, really useful technique to help you get clarity around exactly what problem you're trying to solve, okay? And when you do it correctly, it actually brings out some hidden benefits that you don't even know that you're providing, okay? So let me give you an example of what the 5 whys are. So what you do is you're going to say what it is that your service provides, the problem you solve, and then I'm going to ask you why someone would need that. You're going to answer that question, and then I'm going to ask you why again, and I'm going to do that 5 times until we really get down to the core problem that people are solving, okay? It's a really, really good technique. All right, so let me give you an example of what that sounds like. Okay, let's say that your service is you help companies create videos, okay? And what you want to do is you want to convince your customer that they need to invest in creating really good quality videos, okay? So here's how this whole program works, right? So I'm going to say it's important to create good quality video for your business. All right, so why do you need quality video? Well, because quality video shows that you're serious. Okay, well, why do you need to show that you're serious? Well, because if you're serious, that means you're investing in your business. Well, why do you need to hire somebody who's investing in their business? Like if I'm hiring somebody, what does it matter? Well, because otherwise they may just be a beginner. Well, why can't you just hire a beginner? Well, because beginners aren't experts. Well, why do you need to be an expert? Because experts get paid more. So you're not really just helping people create quality video assets. You are helping people make more money, increase their income by being seen as an expert. Okay, see the difference? Instead, we started off with this sort of vague idea that you need quality video, you need good quality video. And what we've done is we've drilled in and realized that the reason you need good quality video is because you need to be seen as an expert so that you earn more money. That's the problem you're solving. you need to increase this person's income. You see the difference? Totally different positioning and much, much more powerful. So this 5 whys technique is really, really helpful. And actually, you'll hear me use it a lot in hot seats when I talk to people, because if they're not really super clear about the one problem that they're solving, then it can be tough for them to articulate a benefit and then articulate the messaging to the audience. It kind of all rolls downhill. On the one big result that you provide for your audience, okay? Again, very similar to the one big problem that you solve, the one big result has to be big and it has to be singular, okay? Again, a lot of people say, but I provide a lot of results. There's a lot of outcomes. That's fine. That may be true, but you need to focus on the one biggie, okay? So I want to talk you through how to get to that one big result by doing 2 things. I want to talk about the 4 big results people care about, and then I want to talk about a formula for developing a solid benefit statement that's called benefit plus control. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, what are the 4 biggies? In my experience, people buy something for one of only 4 reasons. Okay, it is to make more money, to save money, to stay out of jail, or to have a better life. That's it. One of those 4. So you need to be able to articulate the result that you provide in one of those 4 contexts. So if you say things like, well, the benefit we provide is that there's a holistic level of thinking about your business that allows you to be in tune with your inner strengths. Okay, I have no idea what that means, seriously. And I can't even tell you how many times I hear people articulate their benefit in exactly those terms, especially a lot of life coaching and things like that. That's just crazy. Like, no one understands what that means. So you need to think about your benefit in terms of the big 4, okay? So those big 4 are really going to be what matters to your audience. Now, it's not good enough to just say one of those big 4, because anyone will say that, right? Because then every business coach would say, I make you more money. Great. That doesn't help me at all. It doesn't tell me at all what you do. You just make me more money. Everyone says they make me more money. I could make me more money all by myself if I just invested a ton of money. So what we need now is we need a unique selling proposition which is focused on one of the big 4, but in a way that's credible and unique. Okay, so when we talk about a unique selling proposition, it does truly need to be unique. What that means is that it needs to be something that even your competition can't repeat. I hear a lot of people say, oh, well, our unique selling proposition is that we are honest and full of integrity. Everyone is going to say that. I mean, who's going to say that they're not? Oh, well, we're the dastardly evil company. Like, no one's going to say that. Everyone's going to say that you're honest and full of integrity. That is not unique. Now, you may even be sitting there and going, but our competitors are totally dishonest. Fine. Let's say they are. It doesn't matter. They can still say it with credibility. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to develop a unique selling proposition that is truly unique. And what that means is that you're going to have to offset the obvious benefit that you're providing with a dose of realism, okay? So for example, if I say, I can make you more money, that's great. But everyone says they can make me more money, and how much is that going to cost me? Is it going to cost me more than the money I'm going to make? You see what I mean? Is it going to take me 7 years? So what you have to do is you have to offset that benefit with what I call a controlling factor, okay? The controlling factor is something which kind of operates in exactly the opposite way that your benefit does and puts either a cost control or a time control or some control on what you deliver so that people are getting their benefit while their fear is being met, okay? It's essentially a way for you to say, hey, I'm not talking about doing this the hard way. I'm talking about this is going to be better. For example, let me give you a couple examples of what this looks like. We increase sales by 23% while shortening your sales cycle. Okay, you see how shortening your sales cycle controls the increase in sales? Because you could say, great, you're going to increase sales. Oh, yeah, but I'm going to do that while actually making things go faster. So that control statement kind of, it levels the scales a little bit and makes the benefit even more interesting. Okay, let me give you another example. We save you 15% on the price of food while improving the quality of your end product. Okay, so you can see how those two things are kind of a control, because I could save 15% on food, but if quality just went down all the time, then you wouldn't make any difference. Like, who cares? You saved money on the food, but now everything's crappy. But what you've done is you said, no, you're going to save money on food, and quality's actually going to go up. It's exactly the opposite of what you think might happen. Okay? Or, here's another example. We keep you in compliance with government regulations while improving the productivity of your staff by 21%. See, that's totally opposite, right? Normally, if you think compliance with government regulations, it's going to be inefficiency, a lot more work, right? But I'm saying, no. We're going to keep you compliant and increase productivity. That's that control, okay? So I want you to think through what that formula looks like for you. Benefit plus control. You want to have a benefit which speaks to one of the four things that we talked about, the big four: make money, save money, stay out of jail, or have a better life, and then control it. Now, the control part is going to be very, very important if your benefit is to have a better life, because having a better life is so ethereal, it's so vague, you're going to need to put some control around it. Let me give you an example of what that might mean. Let's say that you're a health coach that helps people lose weight. Okay, so you obviously want them to have a better life. So the issue is you're going to have to define time frames and amount of effort. So here's an example of a unique selling proposition. I help you lose 100 pounds in 6 months by only adjusting one part of your diet. Okay, now, I don't know if that's true or not, because I'm not a health coach, and probably health coaches out there are screaming and yelling that that's totally ridiculous. But do you see the power, though? If it was a true statement, it would be very powerful, because what I've done is I've outlined the benefit in terms of having a better life by losing weight. I've given you a time frame that happens in, and I have indicated that it's going to be easy, or I'm going to control how much change or how much effort you're going to need to take. Those are powerful, powerful ways of creating a unique selling proposition. Okay? So, one last bonus thing to talk about here. You make your one big result even better when you add specificity through numbers. Okay? Think about the numbers you can add in. Some of the examples I gave had very specific numbers in them. We increase sales by 23%. We save you 15%. Your productivity increases by 21%. Numbers matter. And there are things you absolutely can measure in the statement and the value that you provide to your audience. So make sure that you spend the time to come up with the specificity. Now, the specificity is going to be what really solidifies your unique selling proposition. Because even if you said, we increase sales by shortening sales cycles, and your competition said, well, we increase sales by shortening sales cycles too, and you may be saying, well, they're lying. Fine, but it still sounds credible. But if you say you increase sales 23% by shortening sales cycle, and even better, if you said we increase sales by 23% while shortening your sales cycle by an average of 4 weeks, even better, right? Because now you created more specificity. And if your competition turned around and repeated it, they would sound ridiculous. How in the world could they use the same numbers you did? It just doesn't have that credibility anymore. But you see what the uniqueness has done to your value proposition? It's blown it through the roof. Okay? So I want you to think about one of the big four and make sure that the one big benefit you provide hits one of the big four. Earn money, save money, stay out of jail, have a better life. And I want you to write down your unique selling proposition in terms of benefit plus control with specificity. And you will have yourself a killer one big result. Finally, I want to talk about audience segments. Audience segments are the need segments that your prospect goes through as they slowly make a decision to buy from you. What a lot of people do is they think that all prospects are the same, and you should be talking to all prospects the same way. But that's just not true. And as a prospect slowly makes the decision to become a customer, they pass through 4 distinct phases of the process. Okay? And I want to cover what those are. First, they are at a stage where they don't know anything about who you are and what you do. And I want you to think about this like you would if you were in a mall. If you were standing outside of a store and you didn't even know if it was a store you were interested in. If you just hung out in front of the store, you'd be a loiterer. And so I call these prospects loiterers. They don't know if they're going to come into your store or not. They don't know if they're going to be part of your community, part of your audience. They're loitering. Okay? They need to understand the one big proposition that you have. So we just spent some time talking about the one big problem you solve and the one big result that you get. Your loiterers need to hear very clearly from you, number one, your target market. So they need to understand that they're in the market. Number two, they need to understand the big problem you solve. And number three, they need to hear your unique selling proposition, which is the one big result that you provide. That's what a loiterer needs. Now, if a loiterer crosses that threshold and walks into the store, they're going to start browsing around. And usually a salesperson will come running up to them and say, "May I help you?" And what do you usually say to that salesperson if you don't want to talk to them? "I'm just looking." So the second phase of prospects I call lookers. And lookers are people who have some wants and preferences, because otherwise none of the things that you just said would have appealed to them. But they don't have any need yet. They haven't identified the need. So what you're saying is interesting, but they're not motivated yet to actually start solving a problem they don't think they have. And it doesn't do you any good to try to engage in a sales dialogue at this point because there is nothing for them to talk about. In fact, that's one of the reasons why you say, "I'm just looking." Yeah, sure, you don't want to talk to the salesperson, but you don't have anything to talk to them about. And actually, it would be kind of embarrassing to have a conversation where the salesperson's asking you all these questions and you don't even know what you're talking about. What may I help you? No, I have no idea. I don't even know if I need any help. Okay? So don't make that same mistake with your prospects. There is a place where they are lookers. And lookers need for you to paint a picture of the end result. So if you're wandering around in a store, what are you looking at? You're looking at what's there, but you're usually looking at it set up. I mean, think about a furniture store. They don't stack the beds against the wall. They set them up. And they put bedspreads on them, pillows and the nightstands, and they make it look like it would in your room so that you can get a picture of what it would look like if you had that product. The same thing's true in your business. You need to start painting a picture of what it would be like to have your product or service in their life. That's what a looker needs to hear from you. Now, once that looker has seen something and seen a picture of the end result, they then think to themselves, "Oh, wow, you know what? I need that, or I want that." Now they have a need. Okay? And behind that need is some problem they're trying to solve. But usually they don't know yet what that problem is. But this stage of moving from looker to somebody who's now shopping these are the shoppers, as I like to call them, they are interested in the details. So you'll see people in stores actually change their behavior from wandering the aisles to actually stopping, picking stuff up off the shelf, checking tags, looking, comparing, contrasting, reading labels. Okay, that's shopper behavior because now somebody is interested. Now a salesperson can come over and engage in a conversation, and they usually engage in the middle of the conversation. They don't just say, "Oh, may I help you?" They say, "Oh, that would look really nice on you," or "This is one of our most popular sellers," or "That would be great in your home." Okay? They're engaging directly with you on whatever it is that you're looking at right now, shopping for. And so for the shoppers in your audience, you need to engage with them in a conversation, understanding their needs. That means doing some consultative selling, whether that's you personally or doing it via some automation process, and finding out what it is they need. Helping them understand that the thing that they're looking at right now is going to solve whatever problem they have. That's what a salesperson does. Answers questions, resolves concerns. Now, finally, if that shopper decides, yep, this is the one I want, they become a buyer. And what they want to do is to simply transact business. And oftentimes, we make it difficult to transact the business. It seems crazy, right? Because once someone wants to buy something, why wouldn't you just take their money? But oftentimes, we make it difficult for them to know how to do that. For example, even in some retail stores, have you ever been in a situation where you've tried to buy something, but you can't find a cash register anywhere? Okay. Or anyone to help you check out? Yeah, that's frustrating, isn't it? That's why I like to call hiding the cash register. And sometimes we do that in our businesses as well when we don't make it really super clear how you are going to transact. What are the steps? What's required? So I want you to think through that in your own business. Like, how do I communicate to my prospect how we actually do business? Do they have to fill out an application? Do they have to make a deposit? Do they have to pay up front? Are there payments? Are there options? Do they have to sign a contract? Okay. All of that comes into play. Now, these are the 4 stages that every prospect has to go through: loiterer, looker, shopper, buyer. And you have to say something different to each one of them. Don't treat them all the same. Recognize what those things mean. So take some time in your own business to outline those 4 things and to figure out what they mean in your own business so that you can start communicating with them in a different way. And ask yourself, how would I recognize, like in the store situation, when a looker becomes a shopper, they stop wandering and they start comparing? How would I start to recognize that in my own business? If I were sending email out to an email list and people were interacting with that email, is there a link I could send them that would be shopper-esque? Is there something I could do that would encourage them to self-identify in their stages? Obviously, you can't use the terms because people don't understand what that means, but the behavior associated with it, how do you do that? So those are the questions I want you to ask yourself. And if you are a member of our free 7 Figures Plus Facebook group, we're actually going to have a conversation about these very issues in the group. Okay, so if you do that, if you engage with that, I think this is going to be really a great way for you to learn more about how to set up your marketing messaging in a way that segments your audience, treats people individually, even if you're automating the process, and building relationships with them over time. That's the way you win. That's the way you are successful in sales and marketing, is by individually tailoring those messages. That's all the time we've got today for this episode when we're talking about audience segments. But this is a great start to this process, and hopefully you get a sense now of how this is going to work. We're going to have an episode every week where we're going to teach a topic. If you want to engage on that topic and ask questions about it and get feedback on what you're doing, you're going to join us on Facebook at 7 Figures Plus in our Facebook group. Just go to 6to7figureshow.com and it's right there at the front page. And join us, or just go on Facebook and search for 7 Figures Plus and join the group. If, however, you need more than this, you are going to be getting great feedback and interaction and asking questions, But if you want to implement and need help implementing these strategies, that is happening in the Scale Mastermind group. And that is going to be where really awesome stuff is happening. The members of Scale Mastermind right now are getting opportunities to interact with me. They get live events every year where we meet together and actually work through some of these issues. And at some of the higher membership levels, there's actually opportunity to work with me personally if you need it. So those are your options. If you want to continue to engage on this topic, join us at 7 Figures Plus, absolutely free. It is our Facebook group. And if you want to implement, if you want to have success in implementing these strategies, you're going to join us at our mastermind group. And you can find that at 6to7figureshow.com/mastermind. Also on the home front page of our home site as well. That's going to be the best way for you to get assistance in putting these things into play. Now, in a few days, watch out for our next episode. In a few days, you will be able to listen to one of our entrepreneurs who's in our program get coached through building audience segments for her own business. So you're going to want to listen to that. That's just coming out in a couple of days. It will help you solidify what it is that we're doing so that you will understand the principles because you're listening to someone else put them into place in their own business. So watch for that. Don't miss it. It's going to come out in a couple of days. If you don't want to miss a single thing that we're doing, you'll want to subscribe to this podcast. Subscribe, and you will be notified when each of these new topics comes out. If you join us at 7 Figures Plus, you'll actually get a list of the entire curriculum of the podcast. So make sure that you jump on over there at 7 Figures Plus. That's our Facebook group, and we'll love to see you there. I've been your host, Frank Bria. Thanks so much for joining us on the show, and until next time, make it happen.